So welcome. So this is our monthly cooking class. It is the first Wednesday of every month. Tonight we're doing a holiday feast, and I'm going to let Giselle take over here shortly, but I'd like to give some updates on the program. So we actually have some exciting things going on this month. This month we are keeping our normal support group dates and times. Even though this paper schedule doesn't say that, we decided to keep it because we have a lot of people that are really looking forward to yoga and the bariatric weightlifting. So all of those things that we normally do are still in place. And then on December the 16th, when we normally have a sit-down support group, we're going to have yoga that starts at 5. And then after that, we're going to just have a holiday get-together. And we will do like a bariatric potluck. And so we encourage folks to start looking at some recipes, try us out before you go.
Potluck.
Yeah, healthy potluck. But try us out before you go to some holiday parties that are upcoming. And also write down your recipe, and if people like your recipe, then they can just like snap a picture with their phone and take it with them and try it at home. And go ahead, you're going to say something.
I was going to say that if you, for any reason, if you can't bring food, don't let that stop you from joining us. So, you know, if you want to bring a dish, great, but if you can't, then just still come in and join us.
Holidays are stressful, and then you throw in food and it can make it really stressful for our patients as well, so we want to help you navigate that. In January, we're going to still have our normal cooking class, but Giselle and I are actually going to get a little adventurous, and we are going to travel over to Winder, and we will have an additional cooking class there January the 13th.
Yes.
Is that right? And it's at a place called Wimberley's Roots.
Correct.
So excited to expand that out. Not sure how often we're going to do it, but we'll see how the attendance goes, and we'll get to experience a whole nother cooking kitchen. So, all right.
It is a fabulous kitchen. I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but I saw some pictures.
Yeah. And I'm hearing that where the folks sit to watch, it can hold like 50 to 60 people.
Yeah.
So it's a huge kitchen. It's actually a double kitchen. So lots of fun stuff coming. And if you guys haven't heard, we're going to have a Save the Date coming out on Facebook soon for our patient celebration party. That is going to be February 22nd, so 2/22/20, and that will be over at Linear Tech. So soon, I'm hearing next week, we will have a Save the Date that we can put out there on our Facebook page. Mid-January, we will be mailing invitations to the house, and then we'll also open up the RSVP on Facebook so you can go and register, because seating is going to be limited. But that's going to be a fun event. It's just meant to totally celebrate our patients, your successes through your journey. Our bariatric surgeons will all be there, as well as some of their office staff, and so you'll get to see them. We'll have a DJ, a dance floor. We've got a phenomenal menu that was created by all 3 of our dietitians in our program, and so it's going to be fun, and you can go away with a professional picture. So it'll be a fun night. So.
It'll be awesome.
All right, well, take us into the holidays.
All right. So the first thing is we are making a turkey breast in the air fryer. So hope they can see the air fryer in the video.
Yep.
Okay, I know this is the back of the air fryer, but this was really, really easy to use. It heated up to temperature 350 degrees in about 4 minutes. So that's what I loved about it. So what I did to the turkey breast, if you've got your recipe card, and for those that are online, live, what I'm going to do is I'm going to submit these recipes to our Facebook group, so in the files tab, so you can access them. So the air fryer turkey breast recipe, all it is about 4-pound turkey breast. It can have the bones in it. The recipe says ribs removed. You can attempt to do that if you want to, but if you don't want to, if it's too much trouble, you can keep the ribs on. Keeping the bones on is just going to make it, it's going to take a little bit longer to cook. But this is really easy. All I did was I rubbed the turkey on a little bit of olive oil. I found this poultry seasoning, which is actually really, really tasty. This has a combination of sage, coriander, which are the seeds of cilantro. It's got marjoram, am I saying that right? Allspice, celery seed, and black pepper. Very interesting combination. It doesn't have any salt, so the good thing about this is you can add as much as you want to for about 4 pounds. Anywhere between half, I would say closer to a tablespoon is okay. It just depends on how much of the spices you want on yours. And then salt to taste. So I have measurements there for salt, but you do that to taste. If you want less salt, do less. If you want more, of course, the more salt, you want to be careful not to put too much salt, but that's to taste. So really easy. I rubbed the oil, the spices, the salt with gloves on. I rubbed it all around the turkey. I heated up the air fryer to 350 degrees. Again, it only took 4 minutes for it to get up to temp because it's so tiny. I pull out the basket, I put it skin side down, closed it up, put the timer for 20 minutes, and there's actually only about a minute left. So once that beeps, I'm gonna turn it, and then I'm gonna put it for another maybe 30 minutes, and I'm gonna check it and see how it's going, okay? If you've ever had dry turkey, why is that? Overcooked, yes. I don't want to do that to you guys, so I'm going to check it a little bit before I think the time it's going to be done, just to make sure that it's that it's on the right track, because I don't like dry turkey. Okay, so that's going to beep in a minute, but I'm still going to go ahead and get started with the potatoes. Well, let me just take this out. So this is heavy because there's 4 pounds of turkey in there. I'm going to use both of my hands. I'm going to pull out the basket, put it right on here. I'm going to grab my tongs, and I'm going to flip this thing. It's already crispy. I mean, I love this thing, this air fryer. Ooh, this thing is heavy, so you might want to ask for help. Whew. Cooking gets, your muscles toned. That's a good thing. Same thing as doing dishes. Keeps your hands strong. So, that's what I tell myself each time I do dishes, because I hate it. But you have to. Put it right back in there. I'm still learning how to use this air fryer. Keep it at 350, and then change the time. I'm going to put 25 minutes, and I'm going to check it at 25 and then decide whether to give it another 5 or another 10. Alright, so now that's going, and I'm going to get started with the sweet potatoes. So if you pull out your recipe card, remember I'm going to upload these recipe cards on the Facebook group, so don't worry about that for those that are not here in person. I heated up the oven to 375 degrees. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to grab a pan, put it over here. That was loud. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up a little bit of some olive oil with margarine. So for those people that may be a little bit alarmed about the word margarine, a lot of people have questions about this. Margarine, when they first came up with margarines, they're definitely a very unhealthy product, but they've come up with these soft margarines that don't have hydrogenated oils or much lower in saturated fat compared to real butter. They use things like vegetable oil or canola oil to make these products, so they are actually a hard, healthy product compared to real butter. Now, oils, they all have saturated fat, even olive oil, believe it or not. So I still tell my patients, try to use as little as possible. Even if you're choosing a heart healthy oil, you want to use as little as possible. And then the other advantage is, if you're using less, then you're adding less calories to it, okay? So I have some olive oil and margarine. I'm not going to use all of this. I'm just heating up enough so that I have to brush on the sweet potatoes. Alright. I'm going to let that melt. I'm going to put it in medium heat. And what I have over here are garlic cloves that I mashed. I've got 3 here, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did. I peeled it. I took a chef's knife like this one and just smash it. I love that part. And that's it, because you're not going to bite on the garlic. The garlic is just to give it flavor. So you're going to leave it whole like that. Okay? okay? So I'm gonna throw that garlic in. At the end, we're gonna discard the garlic. So the oil is just gonna take some of that flavor in there, but you're not gonna have garlic pieces, okay? And then we have sage leaves. Sage is a very popular herb in the holidays. There's some sage in the poultry seasoning that we're using for the turkey breast. And then I pulled out some sage leaves that we're also gonna throw in the oil. Let that heat up. And we're gonna let this melt and the flavors will combine for about 5 minutes. And then we're gonna reserve that oil because we're gonna use it to brush over the sweet potatoes. Okay? Now, as you can see here, I've got some sweet potato slices. These are about 1/4 of an inch thick. I'm going to show you how I did that. Sharp knife, important. Can you ladies see? Well, you also have that, right? Okay. So, first thing, of course, you peel the potato, and I washed them before we started this class. So I usually just go and peel like half of it first, so I don't cut my hand when I'm doing this. A good sharp peeler is important if you don't want to go crazy trying to peel these. And then peel the tips off. Peel's flying all over the kitchen. That's okay. Okay. You always want to keep your trash can next to you. Don't have the trash can inside a drawer somewhere on the other end of the kitchen. Some people will use a bowl like this and put a little garbage bag and use that as a trash can so that then it's easy to just grab everything and throw it away. Those little things make cooking more easy and pleasant if you do things like that. Okay, so to slice them, you don't want to start and slice the potatoes right away because this has a round shape and it can be kind of dangerous and you can cut yourself. So the first thing that you want to do is make one side flat so that you can cut the slices and it's not rolling around on you. So you're just going to take just a small piece of it. Now it's flat, so it's sturdier. I'm going to take this tip off for this specific dish. If I were at home, I would just keep these trims because I cut like 4 potatoes, so I actually have all of them in a baggie. I'm not going to throw them away because those can be used to boil them and puree them. You don't want to waste any food. So you put the knife right on top, bend your fingers to make sure that you don't cut the tip of your fingers, and that's where you're going to lay the blade. And you kind of eyeball about 1/4 of an inch. Something that helps is to close one eye. My problem is I can only close my right eye, so, but if you close an eye, it's easier to get that just right. And then use your body weight instead of your arm strength to do this because the sweet potatoes are pretty hard. So it's easier if you just, I put my arm close to my body and I just use my body weight to go down. Sometimes these sweet potatoes can be really tough. Woo, you can already smell that, although I don't want the garlic to burn. You just want the flavors to blend in with the oil. Can you smell that?
It's too bad they can't. That turkey smells wonderful.
Oh, you only smell the turkey? Yeah.
Turkey.
So I lowered it because I was worried it was going to burn. Okay, so that's how it is. You know, you don't have to get stressed out if it wasn't exactly 1/4 of an inch. What you don't want to do is get it too close to like 1/2 of an inch, because then these are not going to cook as quickly. So you want to get them as thin as possible, but don't stress out if it's, you know, not perfect. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these leftover pieces here in my little baggie. We're not going to use these tonight because we have plenty in that bowl. And I'm going to pull out muffin pans. Because as you can see in the picture, these are sweet potato stacks. So we're going to stack them. And what you're going to do first is grab like Pam spray. Or I was even thinking we probably could use some of this oil too. But just because the recipe card says spray, I'm just going to use that. Just light. It's really because the Parmesan cheese can, when it bakes in the oven, it can get stuck to the pan. So you want to avoid that from happening. I don't know how many we're going to make, but I'm just going to grease all of them just in case. All right. Okay, so we're going to put these down. I'm going to put one layer down. And the reason the recipe card says small to medium-sized sweet potato is because you want these to fit on these muffin pans. So if you get a really big one, that's not going to fit. And when you see like this one, I'm just going to, nope. That one doesn't want to work. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and brush it with a little bit of this oil. Return it to the same container. So some people like to have pieces of rosemary, so you can reserve them if you like it, and add those on top of the sweet potatoes. If not, then just discard them. I'm gonna discard the garlic. This is kind of, I don't know why, a little bit sad to me because I love garlic, but in this one it's just better if you don't have the pieces. I hate throwing food away, but it's better for this recipe. Almost 15 minutes left on that thing. It's crazy how fast.
That's crazy. That was a big turkey.
And mine is actually closer to 3 pounds than 4 pounds. That's why I'm taking it out sooner. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna put these over here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and brush these with a seasoned oil. And the recipe card says to lay down 2 pieces before doing this, but I just thought right now that I think I want to put some around the bottom one as well. So, I mean, it's not a big of a deal, not a huge difference, just I feel like it's going to have more flavor that way. And the good thing about the brush is you control how much you add to it, so. Okay. That's it. I'm gonna take salt. This is to taste, so you add as much or as little as you want to. There's gonna be a little bit of salt on top, so I'm really gonna put just a little bit on this, on on top of it. There's gonna be salt on top of the second one. And some Parmesan cheese, so that's gonna give flavor. You don't need a whole lot. Okay, now we're gonna do the other layer. This is like a fun part to include a child if you have someone young in the family, to just lay them out in the muffin pans. I think it's good to involve young kids in the kitchen because they learn to love the process of cooking and understanding where does that meal come from. Like sometimes if you don't expose them, they look at a carrot or they look at a green bean or they look at, I don't know, some kind of vegetable and they're like, what is that? So getting exposed to cooking will more likely get the kids to like healthy foods, you know, want to cook when they're older. And you know, they're the next generation, so I think it's really important that we think about that and do the best that we can. Yeah, we impact them in the kitchen so much. I know people that love cooking that tell me, you know, I remember being in the kitchen very young with my family members. It really made an impact on them. So any young ones that you have, even if they don't eat what you made, get them involved in healthy cooking with you. Alright, that's my kids' spiel. I worked with kids for 2 years, and for sure, those kids that were involved in cooking with their parents, I noticed that those were the kids that ate more variety of foods. They know where that's coming from, and they're excited to know that the carrot that they cut, they're gonna eat, you know? They really do get excited about that. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit more of the salt to season that top one. And then we're gonna add the Parmesan cheese, some Parmesan cheese on top. My favorite part of this dish is the Parmesan cheese that falls all the way in the bottom and gets crispy. Yeah. I was like, ooh, I like that. So, you know, I'm making sure that some of it falls around the edges. Do you have any questions so far about the recipes? Anything that I can answer? Okay. Alright, and they look pretty. Alright. Okay, we're gonna get these in the oven. Preheated 375 degrees. The picture that you see has a higher stack of sweet potatoes, but I decided to do just a layer of 2 because that way you can decide if you want, you know, that small portion, or if you want to do a little bit more, then you can, you know. So, alright, so those are in. The next thing that we're going to work on is going to be the green beans. So we're going to keep those in the oven for about 25 minutes. So let me put an alarm. I definitely need an alarm when I'm cooking because then, you know, you just get distracted and suddenly you just burn everything. Okay, so this is timer 25 minutes. Okay. Oh, and it said to cover with foil paper more inside, but they'll be fine because these stacks are not as big as the ones in the picture, so they'll cook faster. Okay, so let me grab a pan. Keep this in here for our green beans. I'm gonna use this big one. Okay, so green beans, cranberries, nuts, very popular flavor profile in the holidays. The cranberries that I grabbed are the 50% less sugar. They still have some added sugars in them, but I thought that if we use very little bit of it, which means that not necessarily every bite is going to have cranberry on it, you can still enjoy that flavor profile that reminds you of the holidays, but a much healthier version of it. So that's what we're doing today. Before you came in, because that was going to take a long time in this stove, I took a big pot of water and heated up to a boil and heated these for about 4 minutes. That still leaves a little bit of crunch on the green beans, but you know they're closer to being cooked than fully than super crunchy. That 4 minutes, if you want to do it less, I've done it less. I've boiled them for 2 minutes and they're extra crunchy. I really like them like that. But just in case anyone here had difficulty with digesting the tougher vegetables, I made sure to do it for 4 minutes. So if you want a crunchier green bean, then do 2 minutes in the boiling water. If you want softer, then do 4 minutes. Okay? So these are pretty much room temperature. Let me get this pan hot. The first thing that we're going to do is heat olive oil with shallots. So shallots are a little bit milder flavor onion. They are really tasty. I already sliced some here. I'm trying to get them separated. And what I did was I cut one of the shallots in half, and then just real easy, again, keeping your fingertips inside and resting the blade on this side of your finger. You're going to slice very thin, and just slice, 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 slice. That's essentially what I did. I have plenty of onions here, so I'm not going to cut the whole thing. I love onions. I heard yes. I believe they add so much flavor to dishes. I don't want to have a bite of green bean if I don't have a piece of onion in there. Yeah, they really do. So let me grab the olive oil I have down here in my private stash here. Drizzle a little bit here on the pan. There's a lot of green beans, so you need a little bit more oil if you're going to do that much. This is 2 pounds of green beans. And once that's heated up, actually I'm just going to throw it in there. I like to loosen them up. Oh, it's pretty heated. Little pieces in there. Just the smell of onions cooking. We use a lot of onions in my culture cooking, so it just, I guess, reminds me of home. Just that smell. Okay, so we're gonna get these coated with the olive oil, and what we want to do is give them like a light browning. That browning, what does the browning do to vegetables or food in general? Caramelize, which means, yes, for the onions it brings out the sweetness, but when you're thinking about cooking in general, whether it's onions or whatever it is, if you brown something, that's going to develop a lot of flavor. So I tell patients, you know, if you're not a fan of vegetables, then try cooking techniques that will kind of brown the vegetable a little bit in the outside, because that really does develop flavor. It's not the same to have broccoli that's steamed than having a broccoli that has some browning to the outsides of it, whether it was in the oven or on the grill. So That's what we're gonna do. And you have to be careful because it's very easy to get distracted and the pan gets really hot and then suddenly you have dark brown onions. We don't want to go there either. So I'm gonna keep an eye on it. Doing this, chefs do that not to look cool. It really does spread around everything evenly. So it's a good technique to include. Okay, so we're just gonna brown those a little bit, and I'm gonna toast the walnuts. So let me grab a small sheet pan. So hopefully I don't burn them in the first try. It's so easy to burn nuts. Like if you're not keeping an eye on it, they look perfect, and then suddenly they're like charcoal. So and for this recipe, let's see. Where it says 350 degree oven and this is at 375. So, you know, okay. I have some leftover walnuts over there if I have to pull them out. Let's give this a try. I'm gonna have to move them around a little bit. This fits. It's not. Okay. Alright, so just a few minutes. Okay? Alright, so these are getting quite hot. I'm going to lower the temperature here. I don't want them to get overly brown. Anytime I turn the heat down, because by the time it turns down the heat, it's burned whatever you have on there. So just take the whole thing out, let that stove top get less hot, and then you can put it right back on. Okay? Now what I'm going to do with the cranberries, and that's not in the recipe, so if you want to just make a mental note or write it down, I'm going to chop a little bit. Ooh, okay, let's see. I'm gonna have to check the turkey now. I'm gonna chop them a little bit because since I'm using a little bit of cranberries for all that green beans, chopping them will help disperse them better throughout the whole recipe. Okay. Always really careful when doing that, playing with that knife. Okay. A little bit more. Almost. Okay. While I'm checking on the turkey, I'm going to leave this on the side because I don't want that to burn. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and slice the turkey and take a look at it inside, because poultry, you can get really good at knowing when it's done just by cutting a slit in the thick part of the meat and looking inside of it. That's not cheating, that's okay. Once you eat it, you won't even know that you did that. That's the best way for me to make sure that I don't overcook it. So let's pull this baby out. Can you see that? Oh! It's like one of those shows where they show you how to use the air fryer. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Oh yeah, that's good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover it in foil paper. and let it sit for about 10 minutes. This is hot. Want to be careful. So the steam that's coming out of the turkey is gonna touch the foil paper and then drip back down. You want to keep those juices. The first time that I used this air fryer, I did not read the instructions fully, and I didn't realize until the end that the juices were all in the bottom. So I'm like, ooh, walnuts. Ooh. They're good. Yikes, that was scary. I can't tell you how many times I've burned nuts. It's okay, just buy a big bag. So don't stress about it. You burn them, you just toss them. It's okay, no big deal. Just try again.
The card says put them in the oven for 15 minutes. That seems like it's too long. That seems like
this is $3.75. That's why I'm taking it out earlier. That's $3.50. The only reason I'm doing this is because I'm teaching you how to make the sweet potatoes and this recipe at the same time. But if you were going to make this recipe and not the sweet potatoes, then you would just keep it at $3.50. And recipes, those are guidelines. I think it's better for you to learn to look at it and see how it's doing. You know how I just popped it out and throw it in my mouth? And it was kind of crunchy, but it, not super crunchy. So that's learning to cook that way rather than just looking at the guidelines makes you a better cook. So don't be scared to do that. That's how you learn. Whew, man, that was heavy. Okay, all right. I'm gonna let those cool down before I add them here. So let's get this back on. All I'm gonna do with the green beans is heat them up a little bit because they're already cooked. We've got a lot of green beans, so I hope you like this recipe. And I'm gonna throw these. I'm gonna toss them first before seasoning them because in order for the salt and pepper to stick to the green bean, it needs to be coated with the olive oil. So let me toss these. I think this thing is not the best. Probably the tongs would have been better, but that's fine. We'll make it work. I like to make recipes where we're showcasing the vegetable, the fresh ingredient. The more you get your palate and your taste buds used to really appreciating the flavor, the natural flavor of the vegetables, the better. Because that way you have to add less stuff to it to make it taste good. And the only way to be able to get your taste buds used to and really like the flavor of these vegetables is eating them, making them over and over again, exposing your taste buds to them. Okay, so you can see how they're shiny now because they've been well coated with that olive oil. And I have a mix of salt and pepper here that I'm just going to throw on top. Give it a toss. I didn't even use everything. Once I saw everything, I thought it doesn't need that much, so I used actually less than what the recipe calls for, because I doubled the recipe. I'm making 2 pounds of green beans. Okay? Anyone here allergic to nuts? Walnuts? Okay. All right. Sorry guys, I get to taste before you. I mean, it's green beans. And I put a piece of onion in my mouth. I didn't even have cranberry and walnuts in there. To me, it's delicious. Again, getting your palate used to liking the natural taste of the vegetables is great. That way you really will enjoy healthy eating, healthy cooking. So that is done. Voila! I'm gonna take it out of the heat. I'm gonna check on those sweet potatoes because they might be done already. And the turkey is resting, so in a few minutes we'll get your food served. Do you have any questions in the meantime?
I wasn't here when you first started.
Oh yeah.
I was at work. The turkey. So it's just a fresh turkey breast without no bone, no anything.
So yeah, it's a turkey breast, bone in. And all I did was rub it with olive oil. I put my gloves on and really got into it, rubbed that olive oil everywhere, and then used poultry seasoning that you can buy already made in the stores. Different brands are gonna be slightly different tastes, but in general they all taste pretty similar. This doesn't have any salt, so you can go crazy with this. You use it? It's really good.
What brand is that?
This one is Spice Islands. I really liked it because I taste everything I make before I bring it to you guys to make sure it's good, and I really liked the flavor of it. There's like store brands as well, which are not as expensive as this one, but I can tell you that this one was really good. The difference for I saw the Kroger one had thyme in it. This one doesn't have thyme, so it's slightly different, but they should be all pretty similar. Okay, so sweet potatoes. Let me make some space for those. I'm just gonna stick a fork or my knife to see if they're done. Oh, my glasses, always. I always try to do these cooking classes without my glasses, but I wasn't able to do that today. Okay, they're almost done. They're a little bit firm. So I'm gonna leave those in. That's why you really wanna cut them thin, so it doesn't take too long. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna top it off with a little bit more of the Parmesan cheese. So yeah, another 5 minutes, that's probably what it needed. And after those 5 minutes are done, I'm gonna put the broiler on so that way it crisps up the Parmesan cheese that's on top a little bit more.
How did you get your Parmesan that fine?
Oh, that's how I bought it. In a container. So this is not, this is grated Parmesan cheese. You can find that pretty much in any supermarket. Okay, Or you can grate it yourself, but that just takes longer. And honestly, Parmesan cheese, great quality, even if you buy it already grated. So, you see my laziness kind of. You try to cut corners and then it doesn't work out. No, don't do that. All right, so let me actually check these. Yeah, they're almost done. I can already see the Parmesan like crisping up in the bottom. Yeah, that's my favorite part. A little bit more on top. They look so orangey in that picture, like yellow. That's not how they look to me. Okay. Leave it for a few minutes in there, and then I'm going to put it on broil so it crisps up a little bit on the top, and then we're good to go. So I'm going to start carving that turkey, and we'll just eat one thing at a time so things don't get cold. And that is it. That's how you do this. Yeah, they're simple. I just did 3 different things. I mean, the only thing that was already in here before you came in was the turkey, but you see how simple it is. You just rub the things on it and just let the air fryer do its magic. So let me go ahead and clear this space out for me to slice that turkey.
We got quite a few on YouTube that said tell them to buy and then we'll serve.
Oh, yes. Alright, so thank you everyone for joining us live. Again, I'm going to post these recipes on the Facebook group in the files tab, so keep an eye on those. I'll do that for you tomorrow. Bye.